everyone, welcome back to Drawn by Annie channel. This is me, Annie, and I will be drawing for you today. Grab your tea, coffee and snacks and let's dive into today's video. So today I'm going to do the second part of my last drawing, which is my original character Ginger in a birthday setup, since it's my birthday. In the last part, I decided to try out new paper type. I took it out of the sketchbook that I got from a shop that is selling like different things, but it's not like art supply store or anything like that. It's like on a cheaper side of art supplies. I would rather say that this is a notebook that is not lined or dotted or anything. It's just like for sketching, and it has a nice rough texture, almost like for watercolor painting, but the paper is pretty thin. So I decided to check out how it would work with pencils and alcohol-based markers. So in the first part, I tried sketching out my general idea for the birthday art. So if you haven't seen that already, go check it out. It's on my channel. For today's part, I'm going to color it and do the line art with the fine liners. So my general work pipeline is to do a quick line out, then remove a little bit of a sketch layer of the pencil. After that, I am usually putting base color with the alcohol-based markers and work on shadows and highlights gradually with layering more and more markers. Sometimes I like to put some sketching above marker layer for some extra texture, but I think I'm going to not do that this time because I want this artwork to be as clean as possible. But what I'm going to do is to experiment and play around a little bit with line art, because I have thin fine liners and I also have matching colored brush liners, so I'm going to try and put them in use in this artwork as well and see how it will react to this paper. In the last video, I was talking mostly about some memories from the past about birthdays and some childhood memories, and I was also reflecting on the previous experiences, like how my priorities changed throughout the years. And I genuinely think that it's a good thing to do from time to time. It doesn't have to be like before a birthday or any other specific day. I think it's just a general nice practice to do to kind of get your mind straight and not get confused with your life path. I don't know for others, but for me, I really need to do that because my mind gets cluttered with all kinds of thoughts and stuff like that. And sometimes I really need to do like a general cleanup even in my head, which usually also happens during the cleaning when I'm doing the cleaning at homes. So I kind of kill two birds with one stone and have a clean home and a clean mind. So yeah, a little life hack from Auntie Annie for you. But let's get a little back to the art process, and I will break down a little bit more detailed on what I'm going to do and what is my thought process behind all of this. My work pipeline is pretty much same for every character art that I do, so here you will not find much differences from my comfort zone artwork, let's say. And I usually don't rush things, so I'm going to give all the time that I need to finish the line work, and I'm going to do the line weight for the bigger part more carefully, and I'm going to do a little bit more freely on the smaller sketch. I decided to draw Ginger eating donut with a little birthday candle on top of it, because I'm so tired of the stereotype that we're supposed to eat cake and cake only on the birthday or any type of celebration. I'm a rebel. I like to break rules. So donut it is. And since my favorite flavor is chocolate, I'm going to make it a chocolate donut with a chocolate glaze with chocolate sprinkles. Everything is chocolate. Well, okay, maybe the sprinkles should be some other colors so they would be visible. I'm probably gonna do some highlights on them, but I'll leave that decision for a little later. And for the color palette, I'm going to keep the same palette for both of these little illustrations. I'm going to color her hair normally as per her original design, and I'm going to color her clothes in turquoise color, which is going to be a very nice combination. I think I never shared how I got inspired to make a robot girl. In one of my previous videos, I shared a story how Ginger was created, but the whole idea about her being a cyborg and a cyber girl is actually coming from one of the old Cartoon Network cartoons, which is featuring a robot girl named Jenny. Maybe you have watched that cartoon as well. I think the full name of the cartoon was My Life as a Teenage Robot, something like that. So I remember I liked the show so much, and I thought the idea of a girl being a robot and trying to live her teenage life while also protecting the earth from aliens and everything, that was pretty sick and so cool. Like, I really enjoyed that show a lot. So most of Ginger's abilities and everything regarding cyber part of her character is heavily inspired from this show and this concept generally. I kinda thought about it like as if Ginger was from that type of show or like type of universe where aliens and robots exist. I didn't completely copy paste everything from the show. No, I was just inspired from it. So I was thinking in the frames of this exact universe where artificial intelligence is existent and there are robot bodies and it can coexist in like one creature, let's say. So I basically made a character for the universe, but not really, like kinda yes and no. I was just using this universe as a tool when I was brainstorming for the abilities for Ginger and how her body works and stuff like that. So I would logically explain how everything is working and how it's functioning. And this is generally a good thing to do because you don't have to do a whole new universe just for one character. You can kind of create or think in frames of something that is already existent. It's kind of like making an OC character in a universe that is already been made. And I think for many of us artists that like to create characters and original characters and everything like that, it's a nice way to make your character more developed and kind of tie its design to what it can do, because characters that are created in vacuum without any world to exist in usually lacks a lot of things, not only in design but also in general believability. Because if you make a character that doesn't exist anywhere, it means that nothing has really affected it. Like everything, every detail that you put in it is just out of vacuum. You cannot really make it functional, if that makes sense, because we are usually seeing things work in some context or like some frames. So for beginner artists and also advanced artists, it's a really nice tool to think about your character as someone that is existing in some kind of world or universe, and have these little frames and rules in the back of your mind when you're putting more details and developing more skills and like abilities for your character, if it's like somewhat magical or powerful character. And doing that for long enough will actually teach you a nice thinking way that you will not later need any other universes. You will already start thinking in a certain way and try to apply some sort of logic to your characters and designs and powers without having to, use any other existent show or fantasy setting for the reference, because you will just be so experienced in that. I remember I received a very good question in one of my previous videos comments on how do I use references, and this is one of the fundamentals that I have in the way I am thinking when I'm creating a character or making an outfit or a power or developing whatever detail for the character already existing in whatever, like an OC or maybe my own fantasy setting, Lyria world. Well, that mostly goes for the original characters, because when I'm doing a character for my Lyria world, I already know like what are the rules for the Lyria world and what is the reality of the characters that I'm creating, and I know the world that they're living in, and I'm assuming how they would develop or react, or what could their life path look like, and what are the magical powers that there is in the world, and like magical creatures and stuff like that. So this is all very important, and everything in the world that the character exists in can very much affect its very appearance. So from appearance to magical powers, everything can be developed through the world that character exists in and lived in and was born in. And if there is a multiverse, that could also affect your character a lot. So yeah, you can keep that in mind as well when developing your characters. So when I was creating Ginger, I kind of had in mind that there is a human planet, like it doesn't have to be Earth, but like a planet where humans live in. Then there is technology smart enough to make robot, artificial intelligence inside that robot, and that there are aliens or like other planets with other races or other human colonies or something like that, that are trying to invade or start some sort of fight or conflict, you know. So that's why Ginger has like a casual mode where she would live like a part of the human society and try to understand the culture and everything. And because she's coming from an artificial intelligence planet full of robots that are like scientists and researchers, and that's why Ginger is not trying to invade but rather coexist and like research and see and, you know, befriend the creatures that she's trying to research kind of thing. But like we know, nothing is always at peace, so there's supposed to be some sort of conflict, because conflict is making a story. So yeah, that's how I usually use a reference in like a bigger idea, let's say, like a general way of thinking, how I do it when I develop my arts and characters and stuff like that. But when I'm using a reference as a visual reference, like, you know, a picture that I'm seeing and I'm trying to either study or copy something from it, it's a bit different because it depends on what I'm trying to achieve. So if I'm using a reference to study something, I'm trying to mimic and understand how it's working and why is it like that and not the other way. So for example, like shading, I would use my knowledge to understand how the shadow is forming, how the light's forming, how everything's forming. Or for example, if I need to draw something that I usually don't draw, I would put a picture for a reference. For example, I'm very bad at drawing shoes for some reason because, well, I didn't really draw or study shoes, even though it should be pretty simple because it's quite simple form. It's basically like a brick with a bunch of little details on top of it. But for some reason, I struggle so much. Maybe I need to study feet more often because I often struggle with feet and sometimes with hands as well. So maybe in one of my future videos, I'm going to study these parts of the human body. And in that video, I could break down each smallest points on how I use a reference, because for that one, I will certainly use a reference, maybe even several. So it will be easier to explain how I use references for studying, even though I'm not really an art teacher or anything, but that would be an interesting thing to do because I usually don't record my studying process because it's not as entertaining as creating like an art piece or a character drawing or something like that. But if you would like to see something like this, please comment down below and I will start working on it. Oftentimes I'm using references just for some small elements on my drawing, or if I need a composition check, if I want to see if it's gonna look better with some certain composition here and there. For that, I'm usually doing some thumbnails, which is like general small arts that would make like a preview of my idea before I actually start working on a bigger sketch, because small sketches it's really easy to do and you can do like 10-15 of them and see which one you like the most, kinda. So that's also one thing to do. Drawing from nature or like from life is also like a type of using reference, to be honest, because you're literally seeing something in front of you and putting it on paper. So that could also be named a reference usage. And it was always amusing to me how some people on social media are claiming that using reference is cheating and this is not real art and you need to draw from imagination. Dude, how are these people even studying anything if they're not ever copying or using reference as their guide to do anything regarding art? How these people are studying, like literally, how? Just explain to me. Sometimes I feel like these people who are saying such things never did any other art before, so that's really weird to me, because using reference and like observing things and trying to, you know, understand how they're working, it's literally what art is about. Like the fundamentals are based off of that. So that's really dumb to say that reference using is cheating, unless you're copy pasting and tracing completely someone else's work that they done and then claiming that's your own artwork. That is not okay. So reference using, good. Copy paste, stealing or using AI art or tracing, not okay, not good. Bad artists, don't do that. I mean, that's always a good tone to credit an artist if you are studying their work or if you're using them as an inspiration or reference. That is always appreciated, I believe. But guilt-tripping young artists for using references or studying other people's art or trying to copy something for, like, you know, developing their own skill and then expecting them to become suddenly a masters of their craft without ever studying anything, I think that's just straight stupid. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like, how else would you learn without copying or observing or, you know, studying? Isn't like math same principle? Like you're getting the formula or like a rule, and then you have a bunch of examples you have to solve, and then you start to understand what is the problem solving for this exact thing. Anyway, let me know in the comments what you think about this and how do you use references if you do, and if you don't, why don't you do it? So let's start this discussion. I want to know what is your opinion and what are your thoughts on this. And while you're on it, I'm finishing my artwork here, and I really like how it turned out to be. Some parts I'm not really happy with because during the drawing I realized that alcohol-based markers are spreading out too much on this paper because of its thinness. So I think I'm not gonna use this paper for my future alcohol-based marker work, but maybe I will try it out with my acrylic paint pens and see if it works out, or I'll just use this paper with my sketches with pencils or like pencil drawings. That's okay too. I will see what I can do with this paper. I can also do some crafts with it. Anyway, it's not going to be wasted. I'm going to certainly use it up, just not for the wet medium, let's say. Pencil and fine liners should be good with that. But whatever imperfections I see, I can easily fix afterwards in digital, which is not a problem to me at all. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. So anyway, thank you very much for joining me. Leave your comments and thoughts in the comments. If you haven't seen the first part of this video, check it out on my channel, and I will hopefully see you in the next one. Bye bye!